Also feed my dog, sorry. Give me a second. Let's just sit back and listen to this album instead. It's too good. Too good. Apart from the shotgun sound effects, which every dubstep track can leave behind. Switch. Come on. Come on. I got opinions, I'm sorry. It happens. All right. And my wife is out at the moment, and I got a little pooch here in the room with me, so I think she'll be okay. She's a puppy. She's 6 months old, so she gets a little bit impatient sometimes, but she should be all right. If you hear some angry barking during the stream, you'll know why. Actually. I'll show her in a second here, Tuba Hero. Make sure this is all good to go. I think we're good to go here. I didn't actually... Give me 1 second. I didn't actually minimize everything, make sure. Give me a second. Starting soon! I promise we're starting soon. Okay, we're fine. It's okay. I thought for a second I still had Source Tree open behind these windows. But, we're okay. I'm not gonna show the updates to Tunic on stream, sorry. Alright. She's almost done. Let's do a brief intro first, and I'll hold her up in a second. Yeah, we're doing some real talk today. It is not Michael McCoffey and Biru Jones again, as the description of this stream might have suggested if you're already on Twitch somewhere else. It like pops up in the corner, right? It's like, hey, Power Up's now live with these two people. It's not those two people. It's in fact Mike Romaniak and Alex Papiachvilli. I think you say it like that, something like that. I think both of these people have been on before. I've seen it before, right, Mike? I'm sure I've seen you before. Cause I was like, oh, Mike Romaniak, of course. Isn't that true? Sorry, we've looked at like, I don't know how many reels in this stream. I have no idea. But we've been doing it since 2016, so it's been a hot minute. It's been a little while. Steve Bass, excuse me. Hi all. Was recommended this stream and have been watching videos after the fact all summer. But am excited to be here live. Aspiring game composer here. Excellent. And you pronounce Micromaniac Romaniak? Like Romaniak? Wow, okay. Did I just fully miss that last time? Did you correct me? I just ignored you expressly? I apologize. Mike Romaniak. I guess that makes sense. That does make sense, doesn't it? And yes, there it is, Tuba Hero with the words of wisdom. Don't be aspiring. Have you ever written anything before, Steve Bass? Have you? Have you written music in your life ever? If so, you are a composer. I have news for you. Girl. Isn't this good girl here? She has an Elizabethan collar on because she has a skin allergy thing happening right now. She's itchy. Give me a second. There you go. She's kind of hard to see right now. She's also a black void dog, so. There you go. She got some big... It's very big and floppy. She's a Wheaton Terrier Poodle cross. Name's Isla, like Scotland, you know? She's wonderful. All right, good dog. She also learned the doorstop is fun. You know, so hopefully she doesn't find it during the stream. Start hammering away at it. It's possible she might. Just fair warning. She's been to my office before. I'm just like working on sound design stuff, and it's like in the background. I'm gonna copy this album into the chat if y'all are curious. It's excellent. Be good. Be good. And Steve, the follow-up says, yeah, thanks, I am and I have, though aspiring to be a successfully hired composer. Okay, sure. So in the presence of your you know, peers and such, of course, sure. Aspiring to get hired and do the thing, be established, be gainfully employed. Rad. Just don't tell the world outside that you're aspiring. You know, fake it till you make it and all that, right? It's okay. All right. So I think what we can do here is start with Romaniak. If anyone is new, I guess Steve's tuning in live for the first time. If anyone else is, either having watched videos online before on YouTube or wherever, or not, either way, this is Real Talk. We're having a look at some game audio demo materials from Romaniak and Alex Papiachvilli. Both of whom are V2s, I believe, so this should be fun. When we see, when it's like a new name that I'm not familiar with and I've never seen before, it's of course a toss-up as far as how it might go. I think in general these days, people are a little more, like, due to A, just this show's reputation, I think, and also B, the wait list. The fact that if someone new applies right now or like submits their stuff to be reviewed, we're doing it in February, right? It's a bit of a wait, so people have time to kind of hang on the stream and like see other people's feedback and watch the GDC talk and, you know, the YouTube backlog and such, and just start making some changes and tighten stuff up, get the broad strokes dealt with before the review, and then we can focus on details. So that's super fun. And it's not, I mean, if you watch some of, I'm not sure if it's even available on YouTube, but some of the very old ones, it was a real game of dice. It's just like, it might be, you know, snake eyes, or it might be 2 6s. Across the board. Some are super rough, and some are awesome. And I'm looking forward to these two today, for sure. Should be good. Your last Real Talk appearance was 3 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while. I was thinking it'd been a while, actually. Yeah. Totally. Anyway. So yes, this is Real Talk. We are looking at a few things here in terms of this demo material review. We're looking at, down here, presentation, material selection, content quality, and distinction. For presentation, we'll look at the site on the whole and just general navigation and aesthetic stuff. We're not going to go too crazy deep into that, but we'll certainly give some feedback if we got it. The main thing is just, is it easy to get around, and are the most important things easy to find? That's the gist. We'll also look at the bio a little bit to make sure that you're putting a good foot forward as far as the first impressions are concerned. And for a presentation of the reel, we're looking at things like the length of the thing, the flow, just are we gripped, are we engaged, how's the titling, is there enough information, too much information, are the bookends styly and making it look sweet, that kind of thing. And next up, the material selection, just what is present in the demo reel itself, what's in the portfolio, you know, other projects, etc., and what those various pieces might suggest about this person's past work history, their current skill sets, and their future ambitions. And content quality, simply, is it good? And if it's not quite there in some respects, I'm certainly happy to give you my opinion. I'm not the word of God at all, by any stretch, but I'm happy to give you what I think. And I know the chat is always happy to offer their own input as well. So there's a lot of very talented folks in the chat, so feel free to take heed or not. As with everything. As with all advice ever. Or feedback. And finally, Distinction. Just, are you standing out in some positive way? There she is. There you are. It's okay. She's like, who are you talking to? No one's here. It's okay, baby. Distinction. Are you standing out in some positive way? If so, awesome. If not, well, gotta make some positive impression somehow, right? Sweetie. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Yes. Oh, she's like so tired too. Look at her. So funny. Okay. Okay. You're all right. You're okay. Hey, Presley. Good to see you. Brendan Clark. Been a little while. How you been? Who else is in here? We got Anthony. Tour makes music. Matt Galt. Good to see you. Yeah, Matt's got a solid reel. Pretty good. I like Matt's stuff. Bollinger. Bollinger. Chris Bollinger, right? Josh Adam Bell, speaking of one of those very early good ones, there you go. Closh, I missed this, I apologize. Hi everyone, first time catching this live, awesome. C-L-O-S-C-H, is that just cloche like a bell? Cloche? It's not spelt like cloche like a bell, but yeah. Silver After. It's a new name also, Silver After. I'm correct, 2 messages. It's your first time here, welcome on in. I knew it. Sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes. Yeah, and for those of you rolling in, my dog's in the room today, so we'll see how it goes. My wife should be home soon to relieve me, but she's being patient and very tolerant right now. I can just see her, right? There she is. Biru, good to see you. Saffron Works. J Gap, SFX. Wonderful. Alan Taco Bowl rolled in too. Good to see you. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the pause button. And then we will go to Mike first, I think. Let's do Mike first. I know Taco Bowl has some thoughts. We got here, the only issue with your site that I found, Micromaniac, is that the vertical and horizontal size of elements and whatnot gets all out of whack when you alter the width of the browser window. Isla, come here. Come here. Indignant. Come on. Come here. Touch. Good girl. Sit. Down. Good job. Settle. It's okay. I think she's just confused. It's like, who are you talking to? What's going on? The width of the window. Oh, okay, sure. I don't need to worry about that too much. But yeah, important. It's mainly that comes into play like mobile versus desktop stuff here and there. So yeah, certainly a consideration for sure. Let's go to the about real quick. All right. So we got sound design skills first. Interesting. This usually happens after the bio, but I don't know. Is there like a convention for this? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe. So we got Ableton Live. Ableton Live first also. Interesting. Reaper Pro Tools. Yeah, Ableton, I'm not sure like who would be looking to hire you for your Ableton skills is one thing, you know? Like Reaper and Pro Tools are mainly the things that studios would be concerned about, you know? The main thing. So, I don't know. Interesting. Sound libraries, brain cleaning up audio, RX. Cool. How have you worked in RX before, Mike? I'm curious. Like, what experience do you have? Or what reasons do you have to hang out in RX? Just for various sound stuff? Or for, like, some project somewhere? For example, I did, like, a ton of text-to-speech cleanup. You know, they record voices, and then a robot analyzes the voice and draws conclusions and deep learns, and then can produce speech that resembles text, you know? I'm just curious, because RX is an awesome skill to have, certainly. Perhaps in just voiceover stuff, who knows? Middleware implementation, we got Wise Fmod, cool, node-based visual scripting. Wonderful. C# scripting. That's nice. It's rare. It doesn't happen very often in there. And only Git, nothing else. Version control, only Git. No SVN, no Perforce, no plastic. Repairing VO stuff, general cleanup. And nowadays, toying with using it for specific layering. Specific layering, how do you mean? Like grabbing like a specific part of the spectrum or spectrogram and like putting it elsewhere? Interesting. Anyway, Micromaniac is a sound designer with a keen interest in computer programming who captures sounds and organizes them into sonic environments for video games. I guess that's what game audio is, yeah. He finds creative ways of attaching logic to content and building audio systems that are reactive, interactive, and adaptive. His approach to sound design is motivated by the art of storytelling, which it should be, which is a skill he developed over many years of working with musicians, actors, and dancers too. Mike holds 2 Juno Award nominations. That's no small feat, and a Master of Music in Composition degree from Central Michigan University. In 2014, his master's thesis earned him the Robert Newby Diversity Research Award. In 2016, he earned a professional development certificate from the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin. In 2018, he designed the curriculum for interactive music and sound for video games. Sweet. A course offered at the U of T, which covers Wise, Fmod, and Unity's audio toolkit. This is a great bio, man. This is wonderful. This is like a dense bio. Like this is the gist of who you are, and here's what I've done. Excellent. Really nice. I do still feel it should go second though. I think. With like a heading or something, you know? I know we say about here, but I feel like having a small heading, your bio, and then this beneath would be more typical, but that's like the smallest nitpick. Who cares? Not a big deal. Oh yeah, I recall seeing all this stuff. I recall this. All these pics. Classic. Okay. So, she's got her head in her teddy bear. So cute. Just calm down. Okay. Let's look at the front page. Let's see here. Okay, on the Ableton thing. Yeah, so Jay Gap says, I've seen some sick sound design in Ableton recently. I've used Ableton as well. Not very recently. Like a long time ago, I used Ableton briefly because there was some great stock VSTs, like for bells, like for casual games. Some really good bell stuff. I can't even recall what the name of the plugin was, but my old gig, we just did like 90% casual games, right? Like social games, hidden object games, match 3 stuff, etc., etc. So it was like reward sounds for days, and it was very good for that. But I haven't really had a reason to use it recently, and yeah, I feel like isn't Ableton kind of more known as like a performance tool as opposed to a like design tool? I'm sure it's, I mean, like anything else in game dev, just whatever you know is going to work best for you, right? So there you go. Excuse me. So, okay, sound design reel up front, got her. So this is interesting too. You're kind of like me, Mike, because myself, I also have a background, not a master's, mind you, but I have a background in I took composition in post-secondary, and now my entire focus is sound design. So I'm sure you have a lot of, it's certainly, there's plenty of musical knowledge that can be applied to sound design, of course, right? Even down to things like the hero unsheaths the sword and it was like shing and have that ring out tone on like the 5th, compared to the key center of the song or something like that, the current track playing. Just stuff like that can go a long way. Understanding theory, et cetera, et cetera. And as well, phrasing. I mean, if you're learning how to write music, you're, of course, telling stories over time, right? So the phrasing and flow and pacing and so forth is all really important in music, as it is in sound design too. So very, very helpful, I'm sure. Excuse me. Max for Live has some incredible stuff for designs. There you go. Jamie, rolling in. Good to see you. It's just so hard to find, like when you have deadlines and stuff, it's so tough to jump into new tools. I'm thinking that maybe once Tunic wraps, I might try switching over to Reaper, at least in part. The thing is, I have so much content. For example, in Industries of Titan, It's of course Wise and Unreal, and I'm working in Pro Tools for my content, right? And I mean, I'm pulling up old sessions all the time to apply the same effects I applied before, like the same processing or the same whatever. So I would need to be, I'm kind of locked in at Pro Tools for like as long as that game is in development, at least. It's tough just to change over cold turkey and like, why would I reproduce all the same effects in Reaper when I already have it in Pro Tools, right? This is not really time effective. So it's challenging. That's all I'm saying. It's challenging to like just, quit cold turkey as much as I might like to, given how tired I am of Pro Tools. But oh well. Before we jump into the main one, I just want to glance at this front page. We got the main reel, cool. We got Fmod Studio Demo, a quick rundown of the assets I produced, and the audio system I designed for Micro Mash. How cute. A local multiplayer 4 up to. Multiplayer what? That's an adjective, not a noun. For up to 4 players that was licensed by the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. Cool. All right. We got Spiritual Music Generator, the tool I designed and scripted in Unity that runs 2 AI systems that infinitely generate consonant counterpoint based on a 4-note gesture. That is fucking cool. Very nice. Next up, voice over direction demo. We saw this on someone else's page, didn't we? Was it like, oh, who was it? Oh man. Oh, it's gonna bother me now. What the heck? And I commented then, I was like, I've never seen a VO direction demo before. Oh well. All right, and GDC stuff, state of game audio in the GTA. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So you're obviously involved and you're doing lots of things. It's super cool. Without even seeing anything so far, we're having a little bit of the... Was it just you, Mike? Maybe it was. I don't think it was. I think it was somebody else. I don't know. I can't think of who it was, but it's not important. No worries. No big. Okay. So shall we? I was going to say that this page features a bit of the Josh Adam Bell effect, where I kind of want to hire you before even listening to anything, but we'll see. Let's crank it up in the volume mixer as well. Here we go. Turn off my sidechain. Do one of these. Okay, now we're good to go. Let's go full screen and have 59 seconds. Where's our 10x, man? That's all right. Let's go. What? Mike, settle down. Settle down, please. All right. Like Presley. Yeah, fine. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go. All right. Okay. Yeah, those first seconds are crazy. That's crazy. I'm gonna say that it's like distractingly creative, because I can tell you around like in the middle of Frostpunk, I had to actively stop. I had to tell myself in my head to stop thinking about this like intro. This is completely ridiculous. The performance monitor name readout, that is ridiculous. Yeah, right, Presley? like this was, here's the thing, Mike, like this intro is one of the more creative things we've ever seen on Real Talk. So, I mean, nice work. Even having to solve the problem of like, how do I make a K or an R in a view where I only have bars, you know? Really interesting. The Wise Profiler. That is not where I ever expected to see someone's name. That is so interesting. Super cool. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with this though. Because the thing is, I was actively thinking about the profiler thing still, but when I told myself, "Okay, Kevin, stop thinking about that. It's fine." The reason I stopped thinking is like I can go back and look at it again. Like I don't need to fully focus my attention on this while I'm watching something else, right? I can just do this instead. So, I mean, I think it encourages a second watch. That's one thing. There's value in that, you know? We always say that within the first 10 seconds, make people want to see more. Your intro is long. It's 8 seconds long, but like, who cares? Who cares at all? This thing is nuts. Yeah. Interesting. Encouraging a second watch was my goal with that intro. I think you succeeded. I think so. Jamie says it's undeniably memorable. Any audio lead will nerd out over that and remember it. Yeah, exactly. Totally. I mean, this is distinction, right? This is the thing, is that no one else has ever done this. So if you can find something, some way to express your work or your name or whatever in a way no one's thought of before, then have at her, especially if you're vying to work with a team that does things in kind of like an innovative way. Like when I was making Phonopath, it's no longer playable, sadly, due to Flash being antiquated. Like I made Phonopath so I can apply a Valve, because Valve does weird stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I can do weird stuff too. I'll make this weird thing that doesn't exist. And basically like, still doesn't exist as far as the kind of game that it is. And I had folks at GDC hit me up who work at Valve. And we're like, that was crazy, like finding me in the show, you know? So, and the thing is, I didn't have any credits worth talking about at that point. Just this one thing I did. I had no real like presence in the industry, so that certainly helped. So this small little nugget is wonderful. I'm really impressed. This is the coolest thing we've seen in the show in a long time. And I mean, this is like the nerdiest thing. If my wife was in here, she'd be like, what the hell is that? This would mean nothing to her, of course, right? But like Jamie says, like any audio lead is going to understand precisely what this is and what you did and so forth. And that's super cool. So good on you. Let's move on. More presentation stuff. So I guess one thing I will say that's kind of perhaps a shame or missing here is your contact info. Might be worthwhile. Is it the end? It is at the end. So I guess it's like not a big deal. You have it there. It's easy to find. I didn't miss it on first watch. I was too focused on how crazy it was. So no, probably doesn't need to be there, honestly, with how nuts this thing is. All right. And like the design being linked to the time as well. Go sidechain again. Sorry. 1 second. Interesting. Okay, Frostpunk, 11-Bit Studios. Yeah, Polish team. I love this crew. We're good pals with those guys. Wonderful. We have readable text. We have the, oh my goodness, transient gamers. Where are you at? Zvi Sherman, the half fade out. Oh my god, I love it. I love that's just the standard now. I love this. Oh, it's so tasteful. What a move. What a move. Okay, moving on. Yep, okay. Fade is, I mean, there's nothing here as far as like deliberate, active choices as far as how to tell the story of you, Mike, right? And which is, I mean, I know you've watched plenty of this show, so you know what I'm talking about. Like the idea of having two clips and having one like transition into the next in a very actively deliberate way, in a way that's obviously deliberate. And this is, just a simple palette cleansing, fade to black, and we're back in. Again, it's not a bad thing. It just isn't a good thing. It's just neutral, right? it's not bad, it's not good. So you're just not winning any points with it. It's fine. And then same thing for the next fade, I believe, is yeah, just identical. So oh, and cool. The inverse text apparently. Interesting. I guess it has the bright background. I'm surprised you have to do this though. I mean, if you have like the black background, like the you know the opacity whatever turned down something or other, then that should be fine still. But I don't know. I guess it's fine. Not a big deal. Oh, is that Mom? There you go.
Hello.
There you go. Thanks, Zoe. See you. Okay. Door's still open. 1 second. Yeah, she's eating. It's fine. I'll close the door. Zoe, please. Close. Okay, thanks everyone. Okay, so presentation wise still moving on. Half fade. And then we got fade to you. It's kind of whatever, sure. So flow-wise, it's nothing to write home about. You're winning major points with the intro, and that's kind of it as far as presentation goes. The text here is also kind of, it's not like minimum effort, but it's not like high effort. The titling is kind of, you know, the fact that it's like the same text twice. I'm sure Taco Bell has some thoughts about that. I would encourage you to look at Josh's titles, Mike, or Tzvi, or many others, where you have kind of like the heading is a slight different look. Josh is a cool thing where if he needs, he has some more detailed information on what he's worked on. He'll just like bold certain words to make it easier to glance at. Yeah, just having a little more indication, you know, header and subtitle stuff can help a little bit here. Again, this isn't hurting you. It's just not helping you. When things are like really tight and really polished in like the non-audio side of things, it's just very easy to assume that you'll also be polished and detail oriented on the audio side of things, which is, you know, certainly can't hurt. Length is fine. 59, it is 1 second too short. I'm kidding. I mean, a minute is like a good thing to aim for. If something's like 109, 101, whatever, that's like a really good sweet spot to be in. It's not a big deal if you're 059, obviously. So, cool. Okay. Let's talk about, though, some material selection. So one thing I love about this is this Wise intro also communicates that Mike knows Wise, right? Like, I love that there's this kind of implication that doesn't need to be fully elaborated upon. It's just like, yeah, it's Wise, cool. If I did this thing, therefore I have at least an idea of how Wise works, right? At least an idea. That's plenty. So you kind of don't even need to have like a Wise implementation piece in here. It's already heavily suggested. Super cool. So that said, yeah, Frostpunk, this is absolutely, I mean, they're a larger indie team. Not sure how many employees they have now. Probably in like maybe 120 or something. I'm not sure how big they are, but they are an indie team still. 11-Bit's a publisher and a studio. They do their own development. They also published like Moonlighter and Children of Morta and various other stuff. But then we've got the next thing is very AAA. So that's a consideration. And then we have another thing that's also very AAA, Respawn, super AAA. So this first one's a little out of place, but the fidelity is high-ish. You know, it's not like it's a pixel platformer or something. It's not totally out of place, and it is a lot of UI as well. So, I mean, there's plenty of UI in AAA games, obviously. So the fact that it is kind of UI-centric, it means it's not totally out of place here, but just the communication as far as like what kind of things you want to work on it's like relatively clear, but not entirely clear. Because like an indie game is something you'd easily freelance on. So perhaps tell us right now, Do you want to work in a big studio? That's my assumption at this point, given that 2 out of 3 are larger teams. And again, Limited is like larger-ish. It's in Poland, mind you. Like, do you want to work in Poland? It's up to you. Maybe you do. With a name like Romaniak. Isn't that a Polish name? Romaniak? I feel like that's over there somewhere, isn't it? Perhaps. Yeah, Poland, I mean, yeah, not to drag on Poland. Poland is sweet. I'd love to go back. I had loose plans to, and then COVID happened, so oh well. Yeah, we were actually supposed to be going over for a conference in April of 2012. And we're going to go do a talk there. They're like paying our way and stuff, and it didn't happen. So sad. Oh well. Okay, so big studio stuff, cool. I mean, sure, it's relatively clear that's the case, relatively. And then your about mentions nothing. A lot of abouts have like, hire me for your audio needs. Like, that's not really what you did here, which also suggests that you're looking, this is more of a resume about rather than a sales pitch, you know. Also good. And then we have content stuff to talk about. So I have plenty of notes here, plenty. So the fact that you have this background in music, I was curious. I couldn't quite recall what your last demo sounded like or what it was before getting into this one. And once, I think you had this clip in your last demo, didn't you? I can't recall if these two were or not. Forgive me if they were. But this, I just feel like I recall this clip. Might not be, I mean, maybe none of them were, I don't know. Or maybe all 3 were. I can't recall it all. So let's talk about content stuff. Your intro first. So the only thing there I would caution you about is having your highs just reeled in. It's like a very nitpicky thing. But that ting, the highs there, both the transient and the highs, were very unlike everything else in the clip thus far. So it made me jump just slightly, just a bit. It was not rude. It was not quite rude, but it was like, it'd be, you know, you were heading that direction as far as being a bit too surprisingly loud. And with highs, it's kind of like, ugh, it can be a bit piercing really fast in the ears, right? So careful of that. Just realize that when you have any highs, this is for everyone, of course, in the chat, any highs at all, the human ear, the transduction of high frequencies is very efficient. So, I mean, that's, of course, I've said before in the stream that that's why ambulances have high-pitched sirens, because high pitches are easily heard by humans, so you hear the thing and get out of the way, right? So whenever you have high pitches on your sound design, just maybe take a second to think, like, does this need to be this loud? Can I pull it back a bit, and is it still punching through the mix? And oftentimes it is. Like, the higher you go, and the more kind of pure the tone is, the more you can pull it back and kind of get away with it without getting too obnoxious with the highs. But moving on. So, Jamie has a good point. It might be a bit risky to kick the reel off with a UI redesign, especially after the awesome intro. It can feel a bit deflating. So UI design is awesome to see in a demo reel. It's not very common, and there's a small like standout effect that happens just right away because of that, because UI just doesn't happen very often. But the lead-off clip is often also the one that best indicates the kind of work you want to be doing. So if you want to have a big studio gig, yes, I'll admit it is big. It's not huge. You know, it's not like AAA big. It is, or like, you know, EA or Riot or something like that. It's like indie big. So it might be better for both engagement and for kind of communication reasons to put one of these first instead. You know, if you're picking of these 3 only, I'd say this one, not the standalone guns, because this is more of a, hey, here's a scene from a big studio thing, and here's my cool design. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? Also, I like UI. Also, I like guns. And then you can do this kind of to follow up. That may be the move. So then we got, okay, let's talk about some more content stuff here. So that click, I heard it the very first time. I wasn't sure what that click was. The very first listen. And I think, is this mouse over? Book of Laws, L. This one here? Is that what it is? And that is bold. It's a little bit bold. When you have a sound that is as common as a rollover. This is, again, assuming I'm correct. It looks like it's synced there to that Book of Laws thing. I might be wrong, but this is what I'm interpreting from this thing, right? Like nothing else is moving on the screen, so I think that's it. So anytime you have the situation where you've got this sound that can play very frequently, if I just mouse back and forth on these buttons, it's going to be flying on those sounds, right? And although that might not be like natural player behavior to be whipping around the screen, it's going to happen naturally sometimes. I mean, they'll be like over here and go, oh, and they'll go across like that. You'll have the 4 clicks in a row. And it's just very transient-y, and it can be a little bit grating to be like pop, 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 pop in your ear over and over again. So I would caution you to have a little more of a fade on those kinds of rollovers and make them quiet AF, because in games like this, in strategy games, I mean, in Industries of Titan right now, we have rollovers and button clicks all over that game. Like this one, the whole game is clicking stuff, right? It's just like these two games have a lot in common. They're certainly sister games, same genre. And so when you're clicking stuff and mousing around, you need to make sure those clicks are never offensive and never going to risk being fatiguing to the ear. So this click here, you could maybe get away with this click as is, but turn it down like 24 dB or something, like a lot, more than you think probably. Because keep in mind that if you don't hear it all the time, that's kind of fine. It's meant as some feedback, sure, but if players only hear it when otherwise the soundscape is quiet, that's almost fine too. We have tooltips that pop up when you hover over certain buttons. It'll wait a half second, then go blink, it'll pop up a tooltip. And the tooltip also has a sound. It's like kind of more like gritty and sci-fi, but it's like that kind of shape. And it's also like minus 40 dB in Ys or something like that. It's super, super quiet. But again, if someone listens, they have a little pop, and there it is. It comes down to like the frequency, that is how often, that kind of frequency, how often you hear these sounds should dictate how intense they are. So when you click buttons, it's like a big, for example, like, pressing one of these things, Book of Laws, it's one of the 4 buttons at the bottom. We can assume, even knowing nothing about this game, the player will click this button relatively frequently, right? Relatively, at least. Whereas something like, hey, here's an unlock you did. You unlocked this building. You unlocked this like entire menu, and you do it one time per playthrough. Then that sound can be huge, of course, because it only happens one time. Make it super long and unique and weird and like kind of multi-stage if you want. And that'll be right at home. So just think a little more about like you mentioned storytelling in your bio. It's important to think about the player's story, like how they might play. Because Dagam here in the chat, what's up, Dagam? I saw you say, well, you have players like me who intentionally play unnaturally. Yes, totally. I mean, that's a big part of QA is you say, hey, what happens if the player like spams the pause button? Because they can if they want, right? Like it's their sandbox, they can do whatever they want. And if they spam it and you realize you didn't put any instance limiting on this pause sound and it's got tons of bass in it, suddenly it's like killing all the other voices in the game or something. Like that's your fault. That's a problem you created. So you need to make sure you're just messing with things as much as possible and trying to accommodate for any kind of play style. And I know that's a long chat for a single click, but it's important, and it certainly goes across other things we're going to see in this entire reel too. That's why I'm spending so much time on it. But here, let's go. Yeah, that clicking mouse over is like, it's probably my biggest gripe. It might be a taste thing, like a personal taste thing, but I think it's dangerous. Again, I think that the sound is maybe fine. Just volume-wise might be a problem. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, very nice. The various stuff in here, like the crow cemetery. It's like a little mini vignette. Super cool. I know that Frostpunk takes a very like kind of real sounding approach to their game, and this seems quite at home. I like it a lot. You could even consider, Mike, I mean, one thing we do for Titan is we have occasionally different kinds of mouse overs, right? Or rollover sounds. And so you might think like, hey, this is one area of the game. We're in here. And therefore, this kind of button will have one kind of rollover and click sound. Whereas once we're in the Book of Laws, then like these things, these two big like rollover areas, these are huge, right? So perhaps, and of course they don't resemble those little circular buttons at the bottom of the main view at all. So this might be worth having a different kind of mouse over sound. And again, this further supports this idea of storytelling in the game, because you're looking at, we're like turning ahead to like the next chapter, you know, similar. It's like the player's story is we're looking at this page and now we're going somewhere else. It's almost as if they've gone through a door and they're now in a different room, and that room looks completely different than that previous room they were in. So you think, well, does this room sound identical? Like, is it the same room functionally? Well, no, it's not at all. It's completely different as far as what you can do in this space. We can back out, go back to the main room, you know, go back through the door. But if we're going to stay in here, we're interacting in a new and different way. So it's probably worth having a different aesthetic there as well. Related aesthetic, but not the same. Again, not required, of course. Plenty of games ship and have the same rollover and same click for the entire game. But I'm a strong believer in kind of varying things based on the context of what the player is looking at right now. And that rollover is just one small thing you could do, totally. Especially in a linear design, is just do something new. Who cares? Again, could be different here. This is now like it's one step deeper, right? One other door. And as well, the clicks. So you have this like, doosh, doosh. It's a bit right of center-ish. Cool. I do like there's like this common element in there. You could maybe think of it as you know what, we're gonna have like a drum-ish impact on these clicks as kind of this cohesive glue to hold the various clicks together. And you could even like vary up what the drum is so that it's clear that these clicks are all in a family, but they're, again, a little bit different because the context of this space is different than the context of the previous space we were in. It can be a nice little additional point of polish there for sure. On the whole, I love this design here. Super cool. All right, so the last thing I'll say here is that the pause for the Book of Laws opening is. So one thing there is that I heard this in both the opening and the close. It's kind of like the ink. It's like an ink splash and like it sucks back into the center. This is a screen filling event, like as far as VFX is concerned, right? And the way this evolves on screen is it starts center and moves outwards, right? So we have this sound that kind of hits and then remains unchanging, right? If you close your eyes and just sort of just think of what the sound's properties are, what the characteristics are, what the kind of movement resembles. It sort of just stays there. And once it hits, nothing really changes. It just tails off. It changes that way, but it doesn't really evolve. And I think that if I'm being nitpicky here, if, for example, we were doing, like Power Up Audio was doing the sound for Frostpunk, and you were contracting or something, or you were an employee and you handed me this, the feedback I would give you would probably be something like, hey, let's try to look at the sound in the same way that the VFX is approaching it. We have this evolving thing that starts small and gets big over time. It spreads, and try to think, well, what's the equivalent in audio? And maybe it's stereo width. Maybe it's like frequency content. It could be a variety of things, right? And go boosh and like widen up. We could perhaps have the sound itself, like the character of the sound, evolve over time. We have like a splat impact, like a seeping kind of sound over time. There's a lot of things you could do with this, but right now this is Like that sound alone doesn't really, it isn't evocative of this like spreading ink kind of thing. It's something getting bigger. Yeah, To Be Hero, totally. It's a lot of, I mean, Riley, sorry, Alex as well saying, doesn't really fill the stereo field. Yeah, it kind of sits. There is like a stereo reverb content, I think. Like I'm pretty sure it is a stereo sound, but it's not like I wouldn't call it wide, you know, and it certainly doesn't widen over time. So that's just one thing here I'd think about too. And as far as the closing goes, it's similarly kind of like central and doesn't really change much. A little more on that one compared to the previous. But it still stays like dead in the center. It goes stays. But if it goes such a wide as well, that widening, you could tie like a super wide ambience to this space that you don't hear in the main city view, right? And then when you have that, it's almost like it's introducing this width in the ambience of this space, and then as you close, it sucks it back in the center again. Again, just in terms of storytelling, I think that'd be really powerful, you know? Let's move on, though. Taking too long talking about ink splats. Okay, Horizon. So before we dive in here, my note immediately upon hearing it, I mean, I heard it one time total so far, and my thought coming out the back of it was that I think there's room for more dynamics. You know, Mike, for you to consider, okay, what's actually important in this scene from moment to moment, because it's going to change over time, of course. What's important, and bring that to the front, and then perhaps other things like Foley or whatever. It could be anything at all. We're gonna move those to the back a little bit, so we still have that kind of that contour and detail, but it's not like we don't end up with a situation where every audio element's like screaming, "I'm important," you know. And so we'll listen through again here one time, and just I suspect with that lens you might hear what I'm talking about. There's a lot of stuff that is quite loud, and basically everything is loud that's in there. If I recall correctly, I'm probably wrong, but that was my impression coming out the back of it. Let's go. Right. So as a result, we have some, I mean, the consequence here is you have some really strong design that is not hitting as effectively as it could be because everything else is trying to claim the attention. So the most egregious thing in here, probably the biggest offender, is probably the footsteps and the Foley of our villain, our enemy here, especially the stagger backwards and walking forwards again. It's just like, it's if you close your eyes in this mic, everything is like right here. It's right in front of your face. Yeah, it's just this is a game that is pretty like true to what it should probably sound like if you're standing there in front of the thing, if you were just an observer in the scene. And this is, yeah, it's certainly bordering on like a lot of kind of hyper realism where things are way louder than they should seem, or they probably would be if you were standing there. So things like stepping away. There's like water here. The water looks like it ends about right there or something. And we're not really hearing the water compared to the sand. It's a lot of like general and yeah, so To Be Heroes, I hate adding footsteps for sand because you never really hear footsteps on sand. Some like swish, some paff. Yeah, exactly. You kind of have to design it. Yeah, I just don't really believe this. It feels kind of snow almost. Yeah, like eyes closed, it feels pretty snow just due to the loudness of stuff, you know? Okay, so Presley. I feel like you could also go a lot more into this sort of over-the-top and stylized realm with that little close-up slow-mo section of this one. Lots more kind of whooshings and tails, the arm movements and such. Yeah, this is, of course, this scene is a bit of a break from like the reality of like being an observer, fly on the wall, watching the scene. It's like, and now here we go, big action sequence. So absolutely, you have tons of space to play with that. Arrow impacts as well. Yeah, big one. I don't really know what the effect of my arrows is right now. You know, are we doing damage? What do you think? Like if this is the game I was playing, my assumption would be my arrows are having no effect. Is that true? Is that what's happening? If that's true, then okay. But even then, I'm not really hearing the arrow hit. If, like, again, Mike, just the close your eyes and listen test is so effective. Can you tell what's happening? Can we tell that we hit a target, right? Did the arrow hit anything? And if there's no sound for it, then we have no idea. You could have fired into the sky, you know? That's kind of the sound of what we've got right now, is just firing into a void. And because as well, the footsteps are so loud, it's, I mean, maybe there are impact sounds there, I don't know, but it's maybe hiding it. Kaufman, how you going? Good to see you. Hope you've been well. Thomas. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sad that those are so loud, the footsteps going back, because this is such a big moment. And then the footsteps scream, "Me too!" You know? Yeah, pretty loud. Yeah. So here, I'm, as I've said many times in this show, I'm not a big shooty gun guy, but so I like everything to on like the finish is nice. Feels like there's a good coverage of like frequencies, but past that point, it feels a bit like there is this kind of like how do I phrase this? It's almost like there is not the attention is too strong in one range of frequencies for these various stages here. The hand whoosh, the pull, the replace, and the pull and replace there. It feels like I don't really believe that that's what it sounds like. It's like it's not high fidelity enough. There's some high frequency content that's missing in some areas. There's some low that's missing in some areas. It's just there's a few things I think could be a little more full, and it would probably convince me more this is the sound of the thing, you know? Video. First time I'm watching your streaming. Very interesting. Hey, cheers. I started studying game audio more than 2 years ago. The passion came back. Thank you for what you're doing. Hey, cheers. Glad to have you here. Okay, so I'll try and be a little more specific here. I know it wasn't the best feedback. I apologize, but so I don't super believe that was a hand. You know, it sounds a bit like it's like a piece of wood in the air or something. You know. And I know whooshes are hard. Whooshes are so hard. But something mostly, like, do this. You know, do you hear anything? It's really slight. It's mostly maybe like a boom, 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 boom. It's not much. It's like a bit of bass content, a bit of like a bit of air, that kind of thing. Not much. But this is very focused on boom, 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 boom. And here, there's chunk, chunk. It's only there, and it's also very singular. Chunk. There's not much Foley otherwise, as far as like the hand coming out, grabbing the thing, going down, coming back up. Yeah, we don't hear a grab or anything. We're only designing what's on screen. Excuse me. It's very common. Common affliction is designing things what you can see and nothing else. Now the frame is here, and you ignore stuff happening down here, which you might not want to do. There's totally room to design things beyond the frame, and really that's where your design can really mature, because that's you telling a story that otherwise is not being told. It's not being told by the visuals. It's up to you on audio to tell that story, because we can't see it, right? It's a fun part of our jobs, for sure. The same thing here, shunk. We have like this only down below. There probably are going to be some higher frequencies in there too. Yeah, I think there's just more room for detail on these various stages. The thing is, mind you, I mean, I've given feedback like that to things like a Destiny 2 redesign and some reloads and stuff. Then I played Destiny 2 a bunch, and I was playing with the reloads, and they're not that detailed. Like they're pretty bare bones compared to the gunfire is way more interesting than the reloads are. And I suspect that's probably by design. That they probably are actively doing that. So I don't know. I'm not a AAA guy, so who am I to give you feedback on this stuff, right? Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's perfect as is. I don't know. But yeah, standalone. If I'm just looking at this without any other context, then that's gonna be my feedback for sure. Okay, let's glance. It's so late. 104. Mike, your stuff's too interesting. I'm taking too long here. Let me see this. VO direction demo.
It is now the year 2077. We stand on the brink of total war. And I am afraid. For myself, for my wife, for my infant son. Because if my time in the army taught me one thing, it's that war never changes.
Okay, I don't know what I was expecting, I guess. I didn't know what to expect, actually. I guess I was expecting like a demo of your direction, like what your direction looks like. But I suppose I could have read this. I don't know. I didn't really learn much, man. It's interesting. I wouldn't call it a voiceover direction demo. I don't know, just a redesign with voice in there, you know? If you're demoing your voiceover direction, then I'd expect to like see how you, like, I don't even know how you demo that, honestly. I'm not sure how you would do that. Because like I do voiceover direction sometimes, of course I do. And I have my own way of doing things, and I've learned from others and so forth. But I don't know how I would demo that skill set. I have no idea. So I don't know. This didn't do anything for me, to be honest. But we'll carry on. I'll glance at this stuff. I'm so sorry, Alex. We'll get to you so shortly. I'm so sorry. This is crazy, though.
Spiritual Music Generator infinitely generates consonant counterpoint based on a 4-note gesture inputted by the user. The build in this video was designed as a portfolio piece to showcase both my knowledge of music theory and my ability to design, develop, and implement C# scripts in Unity from scratch. A version of this generator could easily be adapted for any project that needs background music for a temple, cathedral, or any sanctuary archetype, whether it be sacred, secular, or undefined. Let's take a look under the hood. The first piece of the puzzle is a procedurally generated melody, the blue highlighted notes on the keyboard. Once the user inputs a 4-note gesture, these—
Okay, I'm putting this on another tab. I can't watch it right now. I do want to watch it, though. I encourage you all to watch this. I'm putting this in the chat, not with the timestamp. No timestamp. Here you go. Please watch the thing, friends. Please watch it. And otherwise, last thing, Fmod. 5 mins, micro mash. Oh, that's the name of the game, of course.
Micromash is a local multiplayer for 2 to 4 players. Each player controls one arm that's attached to the shared body of one cellular organism. Players compete.
Okay, I'll tell you what my thoughts are right now. I'm totally focused on how central the music is.
Micromash is a local multiplayer for 2 to 4 players.
So right now we have the music and the sound effects and your voice in the middle. And that's what I was thinking about rather than listening to your voice. Just a heads up on that.
Each player controls one arm that's attached to the shared body of one cellular organism. Players compete.
It may be worth just like turning things down a little more to make room for your voice.
To gather the most amount of food, despite having to cooperate to move as a unit through the underwater environment. They can punch food out of the arms of other players before it reaches the safety permanent in the environment event, where I achieve plenty of variability with the use of 2 scatterer instruments and a 25% random modulation on an Fmod delay effect. Now, I spent a long time listening to this environment throughout the production of this game, and I can proudly say that I still find the event very relaxing to listen to.
Cool.
After environment, I designed all the player feedback events, like the punch event, the food swallow event, and the events related to team select. After player feedback, I designed all the UI events, like the transition bubble event, and the text whoosh events that I synced to animation.
Oh, no whoosh out though. Only whoosh in.
For this video, I decided to chat about the music system last, as it's the most involved part of this project.
Okay, cool. I mean, looks good. Yeah, I like it. Just make plenty of space for your voice. Maybe like trade off between your voice and the thing, you know? But nice work. Cool. On the whole, standing out. Well, yes, obviously. Did you see the intro? Did you see this? Yeah, standing out, of course. You have some room to grow in your sound design for sure. Like me, you came from music, so good on you for focusing so hard on sound design now. Just get into those details, get into a little more of like storytelling from like a panning and like evolution, frequency content, all that stuff kind of perspective. Think about context over time. Just, you say that you're big on the storytelling thing, right? Where was that? I don't know where it is. Yes, your approach is motivated by. If this is true, then yes, I encourage you to heed my words. This is my opinion, but this is a good one. It's a good opinion, I promise. It's, you can lean real hard into changing things up over time according to what the context of the gameplay is. And it's never going to hurt you, ever. So on the whole, yeah, nice work. Really nice. Super good. And Alex, I'm going so overtime on Mike. I'm so sorry. That was too interesting. Blame Mike. This page looks smallish, though. It's okay. We'll see. About Alex Papiachvilli. Sovili in chat. Thank you for the claps, everyone. Thank you. Very supportive, as always. Appreciate that. Let's talk about Alex. There they are. Portland. Pictured me and my audio supervisor. Very cute. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a bit more for the folks at home. Here we go. I initially got into game audio while studying game design in school. I've loved it ever since. I previously worked in-house on multiple mobile games in a startup called Plumsy in Paris. I feel like I know Plumsy. When I'm not editing, recording sounds, or making strange noises in front of a microphone, all our jobs, you'll probably find me outside going on hikes and bike rides. I love nature, animals, TV, documentaries, and cooking. Okay, cool. I didn't learn much there. Oh, there's more. Okay. So, favorite games, we got Hades, classic. Life is Strange, Nier Replicant, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts series. That's like, okay, that's 2 things. Mass Effect series, okay. Kind of want to play. Earthblade, well. No Celeste in here, though. What's the deal? Earthblade's coming along, I promise. It's getting there. God of War Ragnarok. Nice. Elden Ring. Yeah, you and everyone else. Wonderful. What am I doing right now? Currently, I'm working as a freelance sound designer and composer on an exciting adventure and visual novel project. I can't wait to be able to share more, and I'm always on the lookout for projects. So yeah, this one, as I was saying with Mike, like your bio, this bio is much more sales pitchy, which says like, I'm doing freelance stuff, and that's cool. Totally fine. Kevin asks hello to us, guys. Just play Celeste. Yes, please, all of you, go play Celeste. No, there's no time for games. You're making games. You can't play games and make games, can you? Sure. So I wouldn't put this until the very end. It's a nice little additional bit. It's less of a middle of bio thing and more of like an addendum that some interested folks might be able to dig into if they like. But things like this are way more pertinent than this. This saying, I'm playing games, is not saying, hey, I'm working as a freelance designer. You know, this is way more interesting and more relevant to what their interests are on your site, probably, right? Saffron Works. Question, do you have a shop on any of your guys' sites? For like selling... what are you selling? For selling, like, sound effects and stuff? Like packages, libraries? We've seen it. It's happened before. But it's not the most common thing. Kevin writing me t-shirts. We're working on the t-shirts. Don't worry. We're getting there. Sound packs. I mean, yeah, some people do that. Either sound packs for developers or sound packs for people in audio. So, you know, we have someone, they say, hey, I recorded like a ton of, I don't know, turntable sounds. Here's some stuff, turntablism. Or here's like some like sandpaper or like just paper or whatever, some different distortion stuff. They make a big library of that and say, here you go, world, $45, have at her. And then people like me come along and say, hey, I could use that and buy it. Sure, that's possible. I don't know. I can't really give you any advice on how successful you'll be because a lot of that's like marketing because if people don't know it exists, they're not going to buy it, right? And there are a lot of teams out there that do a lot of, like, they just focus. That's all they do. Like Boom and such, they just do great library work and it's very extensive and helpful. So yeah, I mean, have at her, of course, but it is similarly an uphill battle just for its own reasons as far as being able to get noticed and such. Okay, I'd like a little more information about what your deal is, Alex. Like what your skill sets are. Do you play an instrument? Do you focus in a certain kind of audio stuff? Like, do you enjoy, what skill sets do you have? That kind of thing. More than simply, like, this is helpful. Hey, I have experience. It's good. But to go from I have experience directly into I like hiking is not, like, this happened really fast. You know, from Plumsy to hiking happened in a blink of an eye. So I would expect to see, anyone would expect to see more information about you before you dive into basically all of this is not going to be relevant to whether they hire you. It's a good like cherry on top to give interviewers potentially something to latch on to and talk to you about, but it's not going to get you hired, right? Okay, let's go to portfolio. Just glance really quick. Dead Space remix sound redesign. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, wonderful. Focus on ambience. Bold move, but we'll see. We got Wise implementation. We got interactive music in Fmod. We got God of War. I recognize this clip. I think you did this before, right? Guy falls, throws axe. I recall this. Or gets up. I can't recall. Tom and Jerry on mobile. Very nice. Plumsy. Okay, wonderful. Musketeer Jack. We got Box Out. Various things. Okay, wonderful. Demo reel. Let's have a look. Yeah, recall this clip. Okay, we got 108, 107. YouTube changed its mind. Let's go full volume and all good. Let's go. All right. Oh, Alex says my reel was completely different. Nothing's like the previous one. Okay, well, fair enough. I feel like I've seen this scene before in a recent redesign, but it wasn't this scene. Like now I've seen this scene, it was not that clip. So, oh yeah, Joey, man, that's so funny. Dawn Laundry, that's Joey at Power Up, was waiting for that axe return. Yeah, that axe return didn't happen. I was also waiting for that. I know you're a big fan of that. Let's go from the beginning real quick on presentation stuff. Good length. I was not fully gripped throughout. I kind of felt a bit pulled around, but wasn't brutal. Let's go through really quick here. Intro. Yeah, very bare bones. It's fine. That's a slight plus. Slight. It's not crazy interesting, but it is designed at all and it's slightly moving and stuff, so that's nice. It's better than the minimum. Cool, moving on. So this text at the bottom, I know is probably part of the clip, I assume. This here, I think this is an unnatural place to put the titles. If I felt real awkward looking in this corner every time. I think just putting it here, there's no reason to break with convention as far as what the world expects. I think just lower third, left side is totally fine. And just like Mike's feedback, some difference as far as like the top being bold or something might help just to have this easier to look at and maybe not centered also. Just yeah, keep it over here. I felt so odd. It was distracting actually. Like this thing, I kept kind of glancing at it being pulled away. But moving on. Okay, this fade also is just sort of, now we're over here and there's no real deliberate change. So no pluses there, but not a minus either. Moving here. A slight kind of deliberate move there, isn't it? It's like kaboom into... Okay, sure. It's nice. Okay, we got this 3 game kit, of course. Unity, of course. In Wise, wonderful. Moving on. This fade is just sort of wherever it looks like to be. Yeah. Okay, and then this one goes to here and to black, right? No, not to black. Well, kind of to black. All right. Shirt, no huge notes there. The flow is kind of, it's fine. Mainly titling stuff, I think, was where I was kind of having a hard time with that. Okay, here's the thing, though. So we've got Dead Space, Super AAA. We've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Square Enix, Super AAA. We got God of War, Super AAA. But then over here, we've got a sales pitch. Right? So you're freelance, looking for new projects. This is at odds with the content of your reel currently. Because like you could be hired as a contractor on AAA projects, but I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that's what you want even. Maybe it is. I don't know. But being on the lookout for projects with what you've worked on thus far, I didn't really get the feeling you're looking for AAA work. And I saw your reel and I was like, oh, I guess they are. And I don't know. Okay, so it's on the right, since the clips have the player on the left. Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Like no one's gonna look at your clip and be like, block in my view of the player. It's probably not a problem, especially because you have it somewhat transparent, right? So it shouldn't be an issue. Sidechain is back. Here we go. All right. So yeah, as far as the selection goes, oh, I fully missed this entirely. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm a French sound designer, currently looking for in-house work opportunities in a game dev studio. Oh, okay. Well, interesting. Then that sentence is at odds with this sentence, isn't it? Maybe? Like, currently you're freelancing, or was it on the lookout for projects? It's kind of like, which is it? Are you on the lookout for freelance projects, or are you on the lookout for a dev position? Because I think you can like look for the projects without announcing that you are, if your main goal is a dev studio position. Just a consideration. It's up to you, of course. Content stuff. All right, so we got an ambience clip starting. It's nice though. It's bold to start with the ambience only. It's not very gripping. It is potentially not very gripping, but it's nice. Yeah, so the main thing that stuck out to me here was all the electricity sounds. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're the sounds that you hear in like every media when it comes to electricity. The chat, do you know what I'm talking about here? Do you hear what I'm hearing? There's a total of 5. Yeah, so there's a total of 5 electricity sounds to pick from. Yeah, it's true. Like sound ideas, whatever, right? It's in like the sound design toolkit, I think, is what library that's in. Just realize, Alex, if you do put sounds like that in, because of the nature of the audience you're making this for, that is people who work in audio, they might recognize those things. And so, okay, so Matt says, and the gunshot too. So I didn't recognize the gunshot, but it's possible. So the more, this goes for anyone really, and I may even be wrong here, Alex, but I apologize if I am. But the more kind of drag and droppy you are with your sound design, the more you risk people with more experience hearing that. You know, they're a little more. It's just like how I'm sure everyone in the chat, if you were sitting at home on the couch with your partner or with a friend or your family or something, and you hear like that door close sound you hear in every TV drama ever or something. I was watching Dexter years back with like my girlfriend at the time, I think, and there was like a wooden door close, and the next scene there's a metal door close, and it was the same door close sound. I was so mad. I had to like rewind. She was getting so mad at me. Like, people hear these things. You hear like the same sound being used, right? So just be aware of that. You know, try to, as we got JGap, SFX in the chat saying, just try and be creative and moving things away from the sound that everyone kind of knows and sticks out in their brain as far as the thing they're aware of, you know? Okay, but on the whole, I like this intro. Sounds cool. The design there sounds great. Footsteps are awesome, really tasteful. The opening of the thing is nice too. Cool. Yeah, like the design on the whole, the scene sounds like fine. You know, it sounds like it could ship. And the thing is, I totally hear that electricity sound in shipping games a lot. So it's not like it's a heinous sin or something. Hell, I was playing like Sonic Generations some years ago, and it was like there was so much drag and drop sound design in that game. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. It was like there's ton. I was going to my library, like, yep, that's the splash, that's like the electricity, that's the thump, that's the body fall, that's the door close, that's like the sound designer's toolkit, like, you know, hydraulic sci-fi hatch opening, like all these things are just like, here you go, good enough. Here you go, good enough. And sometimes that's due to reasons like there just isn't enough time to go crazy custom with stuff, and sometimes it's a budget thing, and sometimes it's a experience thing. But it's one of those usually. It's rare that like people have tons of time and choose to do that, because it's like, why would you just be more custom with your work? So here, content-wise, this is your own implementation. So as I've said in the past, you kind of get a small bit of leniency here when it comes to the quality of the content, because this mostly is here to show that you're self-driven and you're taking steps to learn beyond just like the linear designs and such, right? So that's great. Quick sidebar, Saffron. What do I mean by drag and drop sound design? Oh, sure. So drag and drop sound design is you have a library of sounds you've purchased from Boom or from Sound Ideas or whatever, some library that exists out there. And the more common the library, the more dangerous this gets. But when you have a need, let's say there is an explosion or something, there's like a grenade blast, and you pull in like grenade blast.wave, and you're like, good, it's done. That's drag and drop sound design. It's more like sound editing in that case. There's in post-production, sound editor is often like there's moments that are spotted out, and they say, hey, we need a door close here, and they say, cool, and they pull their door close, done, and that's the job. Whereas for games, when you're trying to build out, like we're building worlds, right? And when you have a need like a door close, it's usually the case that the door close you have in your library isn't quite accurate to the door you're designing. And if it's not, then you can maybe just tune it a bit more, pull in a bit more metal, pull in a bit more bass, make it scratchier, rustier, whatever, right? There's a lot of room for making things custom. And if you just drag and drop, then you risk people in the audio world just hearing it, because they know the sound design, right? They know their toolkit. And in this, in general media, it's not a big deal, because of course the vast majority of listeners out there are not sound designers. But in this context, the vast majority of listeners to your demo reel absolutely are sound designers and are working in the audio world. So just be aware that if the point of your demo is to illustrate and communicate your creative talents, then having any kind of drag and drop design is not going to be as effective in doing that, because they're going to say, oh, well, you didn't design that. You just pulled a sound that someone else designed or someone else recorded, and you put it in and said, good enough, right? So it's just, there's a small danger there. It might not be a death sentence, but it just is a small consideration. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So as I was saying regarding leniency, this scene is cool. I mean, good job putting in here. That's awesome. I love seeing 3D Game Kit always. I'm always happy to see it. Svi Sherman did a great job with this scene, actually. Really good work. One thing I would encourage you to think about here, though, Alex, is differentiating the kind of the palette, the sonic palette of the two characters. You have kind of a voice, and I'm not talking about voiceover, not like they're going huh huh huh, yeah, not that stuff, but like the creative direction that defines both characters. They should probably be distinct, because they're quite different in terms of the story being told, right? I mean, they're obviously very different. This is one is human and one is not at all human, right? So if we listen to their whooshes, for instance, like they were a little bit different, but not super different. Woo, there's a little more. I'd expect more bass in there in the attack. They definitely have some like and stuff. There's a bit of electricity in there. It's pretty good. You're in a good direction with that. I think you have more room to go, though. The other thing with the whooshes here, they kind of moved all around. I'm curious if it's a listener thing or if it is a like playback thing, because the whooshes here are quite stereo, and they seem like kind of randomly stereo. Like that last one's like over here, and then goes across. So I'm not sure if it's designed according to the kind of whoosh or something, or it was like attached to the weapon, and therefore when you're attacking, you're hearing it from where it is, if the listener's on the character or something. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure at all, but the whooshes kind of caught me off guard and seemed a bit unnatural. for a scene like this, I'd expect the listener to be something like on the camera, probably. Or maybe a bit behind the character, a little bit like a scaled position between the camera and the character. Because really, this is the camera through which we're viewing the world. So even though we are the character, yes, the lens, the window we have into this world is not from the character position. It's from a position a bit behind the character. So we should for sure hear things from behind them, right? But the whooshes sound a bit more like we're kind of inside them. So I suspect your listener's on the character. That's my suspicion. Perhaps you can confirm it or deny. Up to you. So one thing as far as design goes here as well, that this kind of is what I was talking about with Mike too, a little bit dynamics-wise. There's just more room for dynamics in kind of the opposite direction this time around. So it's not that everything's loud, but rather that things are maybe underwhelming. And so you're not sure where the listener is. Okay, well that's important to get right for sure. Listener position is a pretty important fundamental step as far as game audio is concerned. To make sure that the window is in the right position. Yeah, worthwhile for sure. So the blast here, for instance, we have these big whooshes. It's like a shield or something, I guess. So, sure, maybe this here. So, one thing with that sound is the downwards inflection on the sound, going down. It is, I picture it either as a power down or like a blast that's like losing power over time or something. And with this shield, I read that as an attack. Maybe it's an attack. I don't know. With this like VFX around it, perhaps it's an attack too. But this moment, I felt the sound was quite quiet compared to how intense this is on screen. Look at this. It's so big. It's so bright. Look at the colors compared to the background. This is a big moment. Big charge up and then big charge and we're kind of let down at the end. Like we're let down, literally goes down over time in the pitch, right? So that there, I feel like you want to have an upwards inflection. If it's a shield, it's like a powering up, right? Like we're getting more energy and more strength or something. It's perhaps an upwards inflection. Might be worthwhile. Also just the size could be bigger, Even that is like that. It's so quiet, and so I assume that means we landed a killing blow. We're not hearing the landing of attacks at all is one thing that might be worthwhile. I haven't actually used this myself. I'm not sure what the deal is there. I'm sure I've heard attack landings before as far as damage being dealt. But the moment of impact, the final moment of like, you killed it. That moment is an important one to mark for the player. The death on the whole, the big sequence, getting that right is of course important. But this moment, perhaps the players tried like 100 times to beat this boss, right? And they've like inched closer and closer. That progress bar on the health is like getting lower and lower and lower. And finally, boom, they hit it. Last hit happens. They kill the boss. Big moment to start it. And have it like drop off fast so we can charge back up, like you're doing is fine too. But that moment is really important to hit from a gameplay perspective. And there just is no transient there, And the thing is, it might be that nothing's happening physically on that moment. But it kind of does. Look at him shudder. It's certainly kind of something happens. So that's worth hitting for sure. And there, we have that kind of the charge up and there's a lot of synth content in there. I'd like more physical content though. Again, to sell the weight of this thing. How much does this thing weigh? What do you think? Up to you. Choose. Is it hollow? Is it solid metal? Is it made of stone? It's kind of up to you, like stone and metal. Looks metal to me. It's like some bolts and stuff, right? But this here, I don't really hear them at the ground. And you can kind of fake it. If it's possible these are physics, you can just do like a sound that has some debris in it. That's probably fine too. I've done that before. Just, it's like, hey, it's like made of stuff and it's gonna fall and that's fine. There's an option there. Let's go on. Last one. Yeah, again here, just the dynamics are kind of absent. Everything is kind of the same level, and it's all a bit low. I think you have room to go big with this stuff. Like this had me checking my input to make sure I wasn't too quiet or something. But like this moment here, like the entire focus is right here, right? But if we compare this to like the enemy sounds here, the staggers, the impacts, they're sharper, of course, because of the blade, naturally. But the reaction of the character is one level, and then here, it's kind of the same. You know, but look how close we are. Like the character is like waist to head, versus in this shot being full body, you know, with like half the frame. So we're so close. And the thing is, if we're talking physical audio in the world, we go up 6 dB every time we get half the distance, right? So it's like twice as loud as you get closer. As you halve your distance, it gets twice as loud. So we can't necessarily do that exactly in games all the time, but there's got to be something there. Like we need to have some kind of increase in intensity to be like, hey, this is the entire focus. It's right here. Check it out. Pretty cool. Cinematic, right? So sweet. But we instead have this kind of like the same level. So as a result, the context of the shot isn't really sold. There's no difference in it compared to the previous shots. And as a result, the story's not being told effectively. So as To Be Hero was saying, the loudness range you're trying to hit is worthwhile to consider. Think, okay, here's the loudest thing in the shot, and we're gonna go down from there. Because right now, I'm just not sure if it's well, no, I'm certain it's not loud enough, and it's not just that the whole scene isn't loud enough. It's that the loud things are not loud enough. The things that should be loud are not where they should be. There for sure are some things in there that are the like correct level in the context of a full dynamic range of the full mix, but there's just no range right now. It's not really being established very well, or very strongly. There's some cool design though. I like the axe hit and the kind of fade away. It's nice. Just bear in mind, this axe is like one of the loudest things, or loudest thing, one of the coolest sounding things. I read the word loudness, sorry. One of the coolest sounding things in games in recent memory. This axe has had like articles written about it and stuff, right? So this is certainly this is also in the category of like sounds very good stuff that is bold to redesign. So just be aware of that. It's hard to live up to stuff that it's like extremely good out there in the world. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave it with that. That's kind of, there's some detailed stuff I could talk about more, but I think that's the biggest thing to address first, is just looking at this scene and having more dynamics. I think you'll be surprised, Alex. Like when you start pulling things up, and Mike, when you start pulling things down, I think you'll be extremely surprised and delighted at how much more engaging your work becomes and how much more alive it feels. It's gonna be, it's something even like myself, I am forever guilty of mixing things too quietly. I don't know if it's like insecurity. Maybe it's like, it's not that good. Well, let's turn it down. I think it's due to my upbringing of casual games where everything is kind of like very cautiously mixed, where we don't want to be alarming any of those stay-at-home moms who are playing hidden object games and stuff, right? So you just mix everything quietly. But Jeff, my co-founder at PowerUp, Jeff is he has no fear of mixing loudly, and we're a good kind of a good balance for sure. He's like kind of giving me a hard time before on some mixing I've done, being like, come on, man, come on, pull it up. And then I pull it up and I'm like, yeah, it sounds sweet actually. And also helps, it doesn't just sound better, or it's not just the sound's good enough to be louder. It's that it makes the things around it sound better too, because you have this better kind of peaks and valley of the story being told. And rather than it being kind of like this like careful up and down, you have this like the mountains where they should be. And as a result, things are more dynamic, go figure. So give her a try, see how it goes. I think you'll like how it goes. It'll be good. Are you standing out? Alex, I think that you've got some good stuff here. Your site's kind of whatever. It's like, it's very bare bones, purple background, green name, whatever. It's not really standing out in that respect. The bio isn't either. The cat's a nice touch. Audio folks do like their cats. We didn't talk about this either. It's a bit longer. Okay, so it is longer here. These are nice to have for sure. For sure, good to have. But I think your demo by itself isn't quite doing the job yet. There's some good content in there for sure. It's just like a bunch of stuff that there's like a lot of things you could change that will for sure be pluses. I think this could probably make its way into like a callback pile. It's pretty good. Yeah, certainly. There's some good design in there. Especially for like a junior design position where you would be doing things like footsteps and like, crate openings and stuff like that. You wouldn't necessarily be doing the main event axe throws and so forth. I think that there's a place for you at some dev studio, but you could probably put a little more time into just giving yourself a better chance of being remembered, just having a little more distinction considerations put in here and there. It'll help a lot. Oh, let's watch this really fast, really quick.
Hi, my name is Alex Papiachvilli, and this is a quick video to show how I implemented the powerful and diverse tools of Wise into a Unity 3D adventure game.
Okay, Alex, you were very generous to me in saying I said your name right. Papiachvilli is not the same thing as Papiachvilli. Papiachvilli, got it.
All the audio that you will hear in this video has been made with personal and sound bank recordings that I edited in Reaper with various plugins.
Je suis désolé.
I created two ambiances for the game, one used outside and another softer one which was used inside the caves. Both ambiances are played without 3D positioning. In order to let the player truly feel the world around them and to add immersion, I've added in Wise a random container with animal sounds placed within the game world with 3D positioning around the listener with random paths. Of course, in a sci-fi world, the animals might sound a bit different. To create this environment, I added long initial delays.
Different recording session. Your voice changed so much.
To each one of these sounds. The world around them, and to add immersion, sounds. The sound travels with the player as they turn the camera, so it really appears to come from a specific location inside the level.
Cool.
Ellen, the heroine of the game, can attack her enemies with a powerful staff. To create the swings, I recorded the appropriate metal sounds using knives, and I also recorded whooshes. I added a few other
the wooden coat hanger whoosh. Very nice. Sounds good.
elements to layer the sounds, which I then edited in Reaper.
Yep.
Inside the game.
Very nice. Quick design idea for you there, Alex. And this isn't necessarily correct for this, but I'm a big fan on metal. So when you record things like shings, I would recommend you new. All right, new. Oh, I was afraid it's not Paint anymore. How do you even use this program? How do you... Crayon? Just marker? Sure, okay. So I would encourage you, if you have your main whoosh, and it's like woof, and there's your whoosh, right? Woof. Okay? You got a peak right here. Boom. And then you have your shing. I would consider, you know what, I'll even change this whoosh a little bit. Our whoosh should be more like this. So like woof, like that. A little more of a, less peaked, yes? So the top is here. We go woof, happens like that. So the shing, I would suggest to you that you put the shing, you start the region like here. You know? As opposed to having the shing like this, I would take your shing and like put it kind of hard fade right there and then come down like this, let it ring out. And as a result, you have a whing, you know, the metal becomes the end of it. It's a very small detail, but that shing is a great additive to have on like metal whooshes, of course. It's really nice. But the shing, if you put it only on the back side, then you have this kind of natural evolution. And as we're always saying, the storytelling, the story of this thing is you picture like unsheathing of a sword. Oh, shing, you have the ring out at the end, right? So on the whoosh, it's small, but having it on the back side only, we have this like space here, right? Where it's starting to get quiet in the main whoosh, and you can that's where you can let through some of the metal, and that'll really kind of pop through, and it helps. With any sound, really having a bit more like we're moving from here to there, as opposed to like we are here the entire time. It just helps to create more movement in the sound. And for whooshes, I mean, whooshes are so damn hard as it is. Having a little more help there it's always welcome, right? So, okay, I'm gonna stop right there. But nice work on the Y stuff, super cool. It's well commentated, like it a lot. By the way, I'm taking a long time today because I can. I'm not working for most of the day due to Truth and Reconciliation Day in Canada. But anyways, we're finished up. Really nice. Kind of distinct. Kinda. I think you're like well on your way, Alex. Just some more little points of polish would go a long way for you, you know? Help a lot. Okay, we'll wrap it right there. I put on this this track again by Blind. It's too good. It's too good. It's far too good. If you wear an orange here in the US, excellent. Yeah, cheers. I own nothing orange. I gotta go find something orange today. It's my goal with my wife. She also owns something orange, so we gotta crack that. Okay, if you want to submit your own work for Real Talk, feel free to do so at the links below, Twitter or our website. Either one's fine. And we're currently scheduling into February, I believe, or something. But plenty of time to fix your stuff up before you review, right? So thanks a lot. Thanks everyone in the chat. As always, giving your own advice, your own opinions and such, your own feedback, helpful tips.